Welcome to Work in Progress, where you write and we read. I'm Echo.
I'm Tower.
Yeah. It's like a running gag that every time I record an episode, I say yeah or nice after we say our names, and I can't break it. It's so funny. It's very funny to me. I just go, yeah, I get hyped when we say our names. But today I'm here with my friend Tower, and we're going to do a little interview. Do you wanna do a quick introduction of what you do and stuff?
I'd love to. Hi there, my name's Tower. I like monsters. I work on this project called the Valiant Warriors Squadron. That's about this team of special forces counter-terrorists as they fight against this international neo-Nazi terrorist organization, and both utilize these monster super soldiers to further their own agendas.
Sounds so exciting. I can't wait for the audience to hear more. But first, I got some questions for you, just in general questions as a creator. Shall we jump into it?
Oh, please, I'd be more than delighted to answer.
Yeah. What was the inciting incident that made you create this world and this story?
It
Something
was
in your life.
discovering the Metal Gear Solid wiki.
That's a great inciting incident to your own very own story. Wikipedia, we love it. And as you know, every writer gets it. They all get the question, how do you deal with writer's block? I am obligated to ask.
For me, it's popped up a couple of times, but I'm unsure about writer's block. But my problem is that it's popped up a couple of times. So my problem's like more in putting in too much in too little space.
Mm.
And if something like that happens, I take a break and reread to fix wonky writing. For a block, I take a break and ponder what to do next. Honestly,
Very good. Whenever I have writer's block, I kind of don't deal with it in the healthiest way. I just kind of get upset with myself. Go, why am I not writing? And then ultimately, I usually just skip around to a different random part, that's not connected to the current present, quote unquote, present of the story. And I just work on some random scene that I'm currently inspired in until I get my groove back. But I know everyone deals with it different ways, and there's never really a good answer for it. I should probably remove this from my questions that I ask. Anyway, how do you go about creating character backstories and history? I love characters. It's my favorite thing to do is to create a character and flesh them out through dialogue or through backstory, etc. How do you go about creating the backstory for your characters?
I think about their politics and how they react to the world. As I have a lot of sci-fi monster characters, I add some down-to-earth human characters to help ground the narrative. I also try to subvert or downplay certain attributes to avoid stereotypes and holding status quos. An example I have is Faye. She's a character that's going to pop up soon, and first of fun little spoilers that she's going to be technically the sixth member of the Valiant Warriors Squadron, VWS-1. She's a giant monster lady. She's 7'3", and she's pretty heavy set. She's also part of a faction of leftist anti-imperialists
Mm.
that operate in the shadows and fight against oppression, especially the neo-Nazi terrorist group. She's very spunky. She's kind of laid back. She self-deprecates a lot, but deep down inside, she's an extremely intelligent woman who works in military IT, and she also tries to cover up her self-doubts and her self-loathing with dumb jokes or self-deprecation.
Mm. I for one love self-deprecation, and then I like to not in my own life, but I like to have a character that self-deprecates because it's kind of interesting to see how you can build a character that is biased against themselves. And I find it interesting that you can create a character that says these things about themselves, but the audience and other characters may know it not to be true. I just love biases in characters and unreliable narrators and such, and so I always find the self-deprecation very interesting as like a way to flesh out a character.
For me, it's like I really love characters that are kind of like really jokey, but deep down inside they're really hurting, and they're so aware of their own like drawbacks and shortcomings and situations. But who were, especially ones that are able to kind of like pull through and get some level of dignity. Faye is also like one of those. Well, TV tropes would describe it as like a butt monkey character. A character that kind of just kind of like be the butt of a joke, and just kind of have misfortune fall on them. I kind of don't like that trope. So Faye is kind of like she gets above the joke sometimes, but I definitely wanted to have her establish how her pain isn't to be laughed at, and that she's a human being deserving of respect and dignity.
It's good to defy tropes in writing. As well, I mean, tropes aren't cliches. There's a difference there in that cliches are overdone and tropes are just handy writing tools. But it's always nice to defy a trope sometimes. I appreciate that you keep bringing Faye up to the surface as your example character, because it gives the audience, like, who may not be familiar with your work, like, something to latch onto during this interview, where we could keep drawing back to, okay, this character. So keep doing that. It's really helpful for like visuals.
To wrap up with Faye, it's like I also wanted a larger character to be portrayed with dignity, and like they do kind of go similar with what about to share with Layla, who's also a giant chubby monster lady, and the tribulations as a larger person, being dehumanized and people just being weird about touching your stomach or whatever. But I want to defy that as well. I want to make these larger people have a sense of dignity and humanity.
That's great to hear. I love that. I also do that with my story, in that there's some, I don't know how to say it in like normal, like I'm gonna say it in a weird way and then try to rephrase it in a better way. I kind of have some fatphobia in one of the main characters going on, where they're just kind of like saying rude things, but everyone else in the story is like, that's rude, and she gets shut down all the time. So it's kind of like the character who's doing that is clearly in the wrong. I don't know how to explain it very well.
It's like a sense of catharsis.
I ultimately, this is spoilers for my Tribe of the Beyond series. I ultimately reveal that the character Krissa, who like makes these like fat phobic jokes about the other character Jackie, she makes these jokes purely because she has a crush and she's like an immature little child. And that doesn't make it better. Obviously, it's insulting either way, but it's a tricky topic. It's kind of like I like when people try to handle issues, especially issues they're familiar with, to make the characters more relatable. I'm kind of bad at speaking right now.
That's okay. Before I move on, it's like I'm 200 right now. I'm at 203.9. I have lost a significant amount of weight since I moved out and lived by myself. But what kind of inspired it was like me I was at 275 at my heaviest, and I was talking to a guy at work, some guy at work, and he kind of like poked me in my stomach, and then just kind of like said, "Oh, thanks for the advice," and then just kind of walked off. And as I continued to lose weight, I vowed to portray larger characters with a sense of dignity and just kind of condemn what happened to me.
I'm sorry that happened to you, and I'm glad you can use your real life experience as like a stepping stone for character growth in your characters, and I'm glad you will work to condemn the thing that ultimately should have been condemned before it ever happened to you personally.
Writing this scene I'll share was very cathartic in a way, without like going over the top.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a funny way. It's basically like that image reaction of like, I'm going to pay you $100 to f off in the politest way possible, because Layla's very polite and sweet woman, and she really doesn't have a mean bone in her body. But watching her best friend who had her back kind of get talked down to just kind of made something snap in her to kind of stand up for herself and the people she cares about.
Is there anything in your life that that personally resonates with you in your writing? I guess we already know one of the examples. Do you have any more for us?
Oh yes, within the mid part of the story, my main character Joseph learns that his friend's dad, let's just say he's done some pretty terrible things, and Joseph's friend is heartbroken over what his dad has done,
Mm.
and Joseph is going to be there to let him know that he doesn't have to deal with his father like that anymore. Like, it's self advocacy is also going to be a big part of the Valiant Warriors Squadron project.
Kind of like a found family type.
More like, kind of, it's more like a leaving a toxic person, even though you cared about them, for something more substantial, even if it may hurt in the beginning, and even if you yearn for this person.
I feel like that is such a touching subject, and I can definitely relate. I'm sure so many more people can relate to it too. I'm glad you're focusing on it in your story, if not the whole thing, just for a little bit, because that's very relatable, I imagine, to a lot of people.
Oh, don't worry, it's even going to happen. It's even happening with a villain right now.
Oh, nice. I mean, not nice, but like interesting. How about that?
I mean, kind of nice. It's like, let's just say they are also kind of dealing with a toxic parental figure, and they're
Mm.
starting to realize that, okay, I think I need to get away from this person.
Are you redeeming the villain, or just are you just like characterizing the villain? We still disagree, but they're more like developed now.
A little from column A, a little from column B, but something I want to portray with this certain villain is that trying to improve yourself can be a very messy and taxing process. And let's just say I won't spoil everything about this villain slowly turning a new leaf, but let's just say it's not gonna wind up being like happy and fun, like domesticated war criminal Vegeta.
I love that. I personally think that characters who do bad things should not be fully redeemed. Or I mean, it depends on like what they do. Like cheating on someone, you can redeem that character. Murdering someone, that's a little bit higher stakes, and I don't think they should be completely redeemed. I have a character. I kind of I'm kind of just spoiling my whole Tribe of the Beyond series, all these arcs in my series, but that's fine because the first book is done, the second book's halfway done, and I don't think I'm publishing any of them soon, so it's gonna be 4 books. Anyway, spoilies for a book series that won't come out until like a bunch of years later. Anyway, I have a character who is like utterly like he tries his best to be redeemable, but he's not. You know, a character that just does such bad things, but they're technically not the villain. He's very just, he walks a line of good or bad person. He's very in the gray. I like to think that he represents the idea that no one is necessarily good or bad because everything's gray. Black and white, just different shades of gray. And you know that, I'm gonna call it a cliche because it's a cliche to me, but it's really more of a trope that like a character's a villain, but you want to redeem them, so they just do a heroic sacrifice and then die. I don't like that trope because it gives the villain or the character that did bad things an easy out, when I would much prefer that they do their best to try to redeem themselves, but you know, dying shouldn't be the only way you can redeem yourself.
Oh, I
And
don't like that either.
yeah, the most like widely known example would be in, I was gonna say The Tribe of Beyond, which is my series. In Harry Potter, where Snape dies to, like, but he's, like, supposed to be redeemed, but he dies. And I don't like that. I would much prefer that Snape was, like, he lived through it, and he, like, had to awkwardly, like, try to make friends with the main characters. Like, I feel like dying is the easy way out for those characters. Not to, like, not saying dying is easy, and not promoting dying, but it's much more satisfying to me as a reader to see that they're not only just, oh, I've changed for the better, I'm going to do one heroic thing and use my life to do the right thing. That's cheap. That's cheap to me. I'd rather Kylo Ren didn't risk his life or die to, like, save Rey in the last movie. I'd rather, like, he, like, lived, saved the day, and then all the characters kind of hated him, and he had to, like, earn their trust, like, the old-fashioned way. And you're never gonna really earn the trust back because, you know, you're a murderer, but anyway, looping back around, that's what I was ADHD. Looping back around, that's kind of what I do with my character. One of my characters who does bad things. He thinks he's doing it for the right reasons, as do most villains. He's not a villain, I don't think. But and then he has to, like, slowly gain the well wishes of everyone around him who has wronged, and it's a slow process, it's an arduous process. The best way to redeem something that's unredeemable is to not redeem it all the way. I use the word redeem a lot. I hope it made sense.
Oh no, I'm totally with it. It's like I don't like the way like how dying is almost like rewarded. Like, okay, thanks for turning your life around. Your reward is death, and that doesn't really. It's like when like a woman dies to give a male character character development. It feels
Oh,
like
yeah.
it you could do so much with more with these characters outside of dying and to raise the stakes. And I do find two redemption arcs, you know, before I move on to other questions, like two redemption arcs I really liked from media I haven't played before was Joshua Graham from Fallout New Vegas and Sagat from Street Fighter. Is basically Joshua Graham was aligned with this madman named Caesar in this post-apocalyptic wasteland. He joins them. He loses the battle for Caesar. He gets punished by getting set on fire and thrown down the Grand Canyon, and he somehow survives. And he goes back to his people, where he's accepted again. He's wrapped in bandages, and no medicine will, like, ease his pain. So even though he's redeemed, he's still very vengeful about his little tribe of, like, they're basically Mormons who got killed by this rival tribe, and he still carries the hatred around with him. And I believe in part of the game, you kind of stop him from committing a massacre. And there's Sagat from Street Fighter, who does murder a character named Dan Hibiki's father, and he suffers a spiritual crisis because of it. And he's even confronted by the man who he's confronted by Dan, the guy whose dad he killed, and he lets him until Dan decides not to do it because he doesn't want revenge. He wants his dad back, and then Sagat kind of like calms the fuck down.
I like those examples. It's great to give examples.
Yeah,
I had another example of the trope, a kind of less widespread example of the trope I don't like, but I wanted to mention it. Did you see Blue Beetle, the Marvel or I think it was Marvel movie? Did you
Blue
see
Beetle is DC, but I have not seen it.
DC. I knew that. Dang it. I knew it was DC. But I saw it with my friend because I only go to the movie theater to watch Marvel or DC when my friend wants to go. I just remember I was like really pissed because I was like thinking about the trope the entire movie. I'm like, okay, this guy, like, I can't even remember the whole movie because it was kind of forgettable, but I think the villain, like killed some family member or something, and I'm like, okay, there's literally no way that this guy can be redeemed all the way. He's going to do the heroic, I'm gonna die for the greater good sacrifice. And I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong because this movie was really forgettable. All I remember is that weird scene where the guy got a boner. And it was like a PG-13 movie, so I thought that was weird. Anyway, the only thing I remember about it was that he died for, like, no reason. He was like, well, I did the right thing. Guess I'm gonna peace out. Like, it was like he gave up on life rather than, like, trying to, like, keep living. I think he, like, just chose not to leave a area that was on fire. I think he actively, like, just stood there and he's like, no, I'm done. I did the right thing. I'm done. Which is odd. But also the filmmaker kind of had no choice in that he was, like, a weird robot man who killed the main character's, like, dad or something. Or maybe he caused him to have a heart attack or something. I don't know. Just like I was like sympathizing with the greedy filmmakers who, like, have to appeal to a general audience and can't just appease the small minority that's like, no, I want the My Little Pony solution. Yeah, there's no way that you can earn the complete respect and sympathy of the audience without having them die and being, like, sad about them dying. Because if they lived, you wouldn't feel that remorse or anything. You wouldn't be like, oh no, I'm sad. You'd be like, he did the right thing. Okay, now what? Like, there's kind of nowhere to go after that. So he just stood there instead of saving his own life. So.
I see. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, there are. Circling back around to the question that I didn't even, like, quite ask the correct way. What's your favorite part of the writing process?
My favorite part has to be fixing problems and making certain situations less contrived and somewhat understandable.
Is that part of your editing process or your, like, original just, like, writing process?
Oh no, it's part of the editing process. Let's just say, for any writer out there, don't be afraid to ever rewrite, because let me tell you right now, the final 2 stories of part 1 of my project had the villain literally going out in this big battle just to basically mock one of the characters when he could just sort of, like, hold himself up in some sort of, like, war room and just shit talk the character using, like, a speaker.
We love a villain that hides away and mocks from afar. That's very funny. Rewrites are great. I rewrote an entire book before. My Trial of the Beyond 1, technically a complete rewrite. And then the first chapter of that, I've rewritten, like, so many times. But because, like, I've been, like, trying to perfect the hook and all that, and it's kind of a messy first. It was kind of a messy first chapter because it was, like, trying to establish so much in one chapter. But it's good now, I think. Anyway,
with mission, like, the second half of the first part of my story is basically unrecognizable. I took out a faction because I thought the audience didn't get that the coalition, the organization the VWS works for, like, gets its power from making alliances, and I crammed another one in there. I'm like, you know what, I could just, like, combine them with an existing faction without cramming a bunch of world building stuff in my story.
That's smart consolidation. Very good. And if you really want to, you can add it back later on when it's more relevant if you want to add a new one.
And I could even implement it in a way that kind of makes more sense. Also, with the final 2 mission stories I have, it's supposed to be very big, but it kind of didn't make sense in a sort of way because a coalition base gets attacked by this terrorist organization, but I was able to rewrite it to not in a way that not only raised the stakes but also kind of make more sense. So don't be afraid to just kind of step back from your own writing, reread the situation, go, what the hell was I thinking? Because that's a big way of how you grow as an artist.
Oh yeah, I mean, in my senior seminar class that I'm currently in, I'm almost graduated with my bachelor's degree. Hurrah!
You're
Um,
almost free.
I'm almost free. Actually, I'm going to San Fran for a master's, but quote unquote free. Anyway, one of the like kind of exercises we did in that class was just taking a scene, putting it aside, rewriting the entire thing. And I did. I rewrote the entire first kind of like page and a half of my Ricky Just Ricky book, and I liked it so much better. It was just like I thought of it as an exercise that I was like, "Oh, whatever. I'll just do this for, the assignment, and I won't actually like put it in as I won't replace the original because the original is going to be better." And then I rewrote it and I'm like, "This is so much more dynamic because I've grown since I wrote that." And it's so much more interesting and the hook's better, and I did replace it. But of course, I took the original scene and just like put it in a new Google Doc because I was like, you're attached to your writing and you don't want. What if I change my mind?
Oh yeah, that's another big thing that kind of helps me with the creation is to kill your darlings.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
in my I originally had full colored illustrations for each story. Then I cut the amount in half. Basically because not because I don't want to draw it, but because I just want the damn thing out and finished.
Less work.
Yep, I'm really inspired by this animator named Richard Williams. He's a man he's an animator. He worked on Roger Rabbit. He spent 30 years working on this film called The Thief and the Cobbler, and his dedication to basically the project was cursed. It's like everywhere he turned, it was a money problem or legal problem that stopped him from working on it. But he kept at it. However, the man was a perfectionist, and he would have work redone over and over again, and burn through so much money to the point that when he finally got some money through a production like a completion bond company, he wasn't able to finish it. He got fired from his project, and it's now basically known as like the first time this film got put into theater, it was like a giant joke. So that really spoke to me in that being a passionate artist is good, but sometimes you gotta finish the damn thing, or something like this could happen.
As an artist, you probably are familiar with the idea of finishing a piece, posting it online, and then you immediately notice all the imperfections of the art. I get that all the time. But I just kind of leave it up. I'm like, well, oh well, I forgot to color that hand. Oh well.
Sometimes it's like, fuck it, it's done already. But after I get some more part one done, I will go back and fix some stuff because that's the good part of like being experienced in digital art is that I can just go back and fix it, and even other like professionals in the industry will go back and fix stuff. It's like video game designers will make patches for their work. Animators are rehired to help fix mistakes they made during production. Anime has a meme about Pula Madoka Magica. Basically, as with each subsequent Blu-ray release, they're able to fix mistakes, I guess, but also the gate behind them. The characters stand in front of this gate, and with each re-release, the gate gets even fancier and fancier.
Amazing.
So I'm like, fuck it, it's done, or fuck it, I can just go back and fix it.
That's a good mentality to have, especially when you're in the drafting phase of writing, or you're just an artist that's producing work online or etc. As you know, I recently like posted like a couple old drawings from 2022, I believe. That just were old drawings I've done of Ricky and Osmond, and I was like, which one of these should I redraw first? And I'm gonna have some voting go on, maybe on Instagram and Discord and stuff. But I've just been inspired to redraw my old things because I had the inspiration and I had the ideas, I had the poses down, and I just didn't have the artistic talent yet to kind of complete my vision in a way that I want. And now I obviously I can't do like the complex rendering that I imagine in my brain, but I'm a lot better. I've been practicing, and I can redraw them to the way I like, and I think it shows progress, and it's very fun.
Yeah, but I'm also in the same boat. It's like I finally have the artistic skill and means to achieve my vision, and I'm going to continue to try to improve in my artwork and my writing. And I believe there was another question for me.
Yes. It's said that almost every author puts a little bit of themselves in every main character they make. Is this so with you in this story, and if so, what would it be?
Joseph and I share overcoming hardships while having to face a chain of greater hardships. We're both also fans of spicy food, morbid topics, and deep ocean and marine biology.
It's great to share interests with a character because you can just like take stuff that you already know about and are already interested in learning about and implement it.
We're also highly paranoid.
Aww. I love to take kind of ideas that I'm already interested in and expand on them through characters. Like, for example, I'm into like word, I forget, it's like not etymology or anything, but like, I don't know what the word is. I'm interested in like word creation and like root words, just the concept of creating language and words. So I have a character that's like really into words, and that allows me to like explore my small passion through research of this character with a bigger passion than mine. So it kind of encourages me to dig into topics I'm interested in. Oh, and speaking of which, I'm super excited about this. I just yesterday bought some old books from an antique shop, and I saw one called The King's Jackal, and I started reading it this morning. I'm like 22 pages in. And keep in mind, I barely read for pleasure. My New Year's resolution was to read at all this year, and I still like haven't done it. But I did it this morning, and I'm so excited about this old book because I'm encouraged to like utilize it as almost like a prop in my story, where this specific copy of this book will just be owned by the main character and referenced by the main character. It's called The King's Jackal, and I believe it is about a past king, a usurped king, trying to like scam the new government of money, is what it's about thus far. I really want to utilize it in a coming book, like thematically, like almost kind of like what Stephanie Meyer tried to do with New Moon by like utilizing the plot of Shakespeare, except she didn't understand Romeo and Juliet at all. But I'm gonna like read it and like actually understand the book and then do it. I'm not gonna just like take the idea of romance. Anyway, do you want to read for us some of your story?
I'd be more than happy to. I'm going to read a little bit from Mission 4, and I keep on hyping up Layla, and I'll be more than happy to share.
Yeah.
This is the first time someone's questioned my knowledge in good faith, said Fritz, who then prepared to gather his closing statement. That man is still a puppet to the Marxist group QM. Fritz brought up another photo of President Wan shaking hands with the Tongan QM operative. A small organization, yet it has an entire country with a budding tech industry and rapidly militarizing at its mercy. Fritz leaned dramatically into Joseph's face as he prepared for him to be overcome by shock. I think you need to get your nose out of those books more often, inquired Joseph. Hey, I'm headed for the shooting range. You should come with me. Fritz now was flabbergasted at not only doing something social, but also invited to do something social. I mean, Uncle would want me to study and understand the delicate language of Prospera's socioeconomic conditions, but Fritz soon paused as his spine let out a loud pop from being hunched over in his chair for too long. Perhaps I should consider calling it a day. Joseph helped Fritz put up the study's laptops and even organized his notes before leaving. The enormous automated door slamming shut behind them gave Fritz a small fright. System is now armed. Unauthorized personnel are barred from these quarters, barked the computerized voice, its scolding tones seeming to echo down the hallway. Later in the evening, Joseph had finished target practice once again. This time he began competing with Fritz. The two tallied their scores for bragging rights. 17 out of 22 targets hit, boasted Fritz, holding up the printed score. That says error 2321 contact maintenance, remarked Joseph. Fritz's ears shot up in concern as the scores were printed over by a red error message. I got like 14 out of 22 targets hit, each in the head, said Joseph with a grin. Not too bad if I do say so myself. Fritz grumbled over his scores improperly being printed, crossing his arms and looking into a corner. This is why I detest modern technology, as if the modern world needed to be a bigger nightmare than it already is. Fritz's ears began to pick up something from down the hallway. Is that Layla? He pondered. Joseph's eyes widened in concern. It sounds like someone's yelling at her. Joseph grabbed Fritz, his scars flaring to Layla's location. Within the dim lights of the nearly abandoned medical wing, Captain Ackerman was giving Layla a very hard time. She was frozen in terror as she had accidentally bumped into him as he made his way back to his quarters, and spilling his alcohol from the dinky little bar aboard the ship. Joseph made it just in time to see him viciously jab at Layla's large stomach amidst his outburst. While little staff was there, continued to not notice the berating going on out of fear. That's Ackerman of the Eraser Unit, said Fritz, holding Joseph back. He outranks us and has connections with Mr. Norman. Joseph turned back to Fritz, gingerly taking his clawed hand off his arm. I don't care, said Joseph as he proceeded to march right to Ackerman as Layla continued to apologize, pushing him away from Layla and getting in Ackerman's face. Is there a problem? Said Joseph in a cold manner. This doesn't concern you, retorted Ackerman, pushing Joseph aside. You're terrorizing a woman who busts her ass making sure me and my friends don't die, so yeah, said Joseph in a stone-faced manner. That is my concern. Ackerman had become increasingly angry, being scolded by the new meat. Layla could see him grow red in the face per another outburst. She leaned in, her face pale and covered in sweat. Joseph, it's my fault. I bumped into him and spilled his beer. Joseph continued to keep Layla behind him, not breaking eye contact with Ackerman. And he can get a new one instead of taking it out on you, he explained. Ackerman's face was bright red, his pupils shrink in rage. Rage. What the fuck gives you the right to... He growled, about to put his hands on Joseph. Before he had a chance, something awakened in Layla. Poor Joseph is a kind, gentle young man who still believes in the goodness of other people, she thought, remembering how he tried to express restraint. Even when facing the ALA, a group of morally bankrupt terrorists who saw him as a subhuman for his skin color, not wanting revenge but justice, concerned with becoming too joyful in his duty, despite seeing him as an object to compensate for failure in northern Iran. Another voice seemed to whisper to her, harsh, deep, and viciously furious. Are you just going to let that brain-dead idiot manhandle the few people in this disgusting place that show you genuine respect? She was terrified of this part of her inching closer to the surface, where her concern for Joseph was stronger. Layla proceeded to get in front of her friend and took off her helmet. She stared directly into Ackerman's eyes. His own rage dissipated, seeing Layla tower over him, her dagger-like teeth bared. Once again, I said I was sorry for bumping into you. She dug out a $10 bill from one of her pockets. Get yourself another drink, but do not yell at me or anyone else like that ever again. Thank you. Joseph stood in silence as he forgot how foreboding Layla's presence was. It's a bad light, isn't it? Layla asked Joseph cheerily. We should get back to our quarters. Joseph said nothing as he followed Layla. Ackerman appeared to be as still as a statue, $10 bill fluttering from the incoming breeze from the dinged-up internal AC unit. Fritz quickly pieced out from the sight of the confrontation. After 12 seconds, Ackerman seemed to break from his fear-induced trance as he could hear another pair of footsteps behind him. A hand gripped his shoulder. Captain Ackerman, I have some concerns about your behavior, said a woman's voice. This hand was cold, freezing, as it was made from hardened, tempered steel. A drop of sweat made its way down his face as the hand began to click and whir. Someone, a woman, whom was closer to Norman than he was, a woman who outranked even him, knew what about his interactions with Layla. The situation finally dawned on him that he was in deep, deep trouble.
Ooh. Very cool way to end that segment. Also, it gives the first thing I thought about was it gives me the he asked for no pickles vibe. You know that meme?
I know the meme. I get it.
I love it. I really like that interaction because it kind of shows like this multifaceted personality that Layla has. In that in that she can show this like aggression while still maintaining this kind of facade of politeness and like it's kind of it's almost like, oh, I want to see how far, like you're just like pushing your characters to interact in ways that make them more interesting, I suppose. It's kind of like the exercise of take a random character from your story and put them in a random situation and like decide what they'll do. Like you have the love interest, put them on the moon, give them a sword. What do? Well, they drop the sword because they're not into fighting. You know, like it very much gives the idea of exploring a character's personality by putting them in situations. And I guess that's really what all authors do. They just put their characters in situations. No better way to summarize writing than that, I suppose.
Yeah, I find new ways to try to like push my characters, and like it is a film. It is like a story about war and conflict, and I just want to push push my characters into these situations and watch them overcome it, even though there's like lots of bumps in the road, and I'm seeking to challenge them even more as part one of my project wraps up and things become darker and more dire.
Awesome. Can't wait to follow this series. Can't wait to see you wrap up your big project and start a new one. Start or in the same universe, you know. And I'm excited to I love that you're pushing your characters in ways that make them express like a large range of interesting emotions and have them react in ways that might not necessarily be expected of their character, because people, I quote unquote people,
Technically human.
humanoids are inherently very unpredictable, and I think it's always interesting when a character can be so like developed but also still manage to surprise the reader and or other characters with their decisions, because you know people are surprising, unpredictable, and I love that.
My project has a lot of high pressure and very grim and dire situations, and I feel that under pressure and under like under like great threatening circumstances, people will respond in ways that are almost concerning or out of left field.
Very interesting.
I don't usually watch like a lot of like modern animation nowadays, not because it's bad, because it's like it
It's
just
bad.
doesn't interest me.
No, it's bad.
Kind of.
Illumination.
Alright. Because like you ever, I don't know, you ever see like one of those like Disney Channel like animated like series where it's kind of like wacky and goofy, and then as time goes by it becomes more serious and serialized and episodic.
Totally.
It's something I'm gonna push in the rest of my own series, because like it's kind of, it's going to be, not to spoil anything, but the characters are going to deal with not a insurgency like in previous chapters, but a full-out war.
Ah.
And that's really going to put so much pressure, and things are going to become more dire, and they're going to be forced to do things that are kind of messed up at a first glance.
I feel like, now that you pointed out, I feel like my series is doing that too. It's very Disney Channel to have a cartoon like just playing in the space, random episodes, not necessarily connected, just so you grow to love the characters, and then once you're interested in the show and the characters, they start being episodic because they know the audience is tuning into everyone in order now because they're interested. And that's when it becomes suspenseful, that's when the story happens and the plot, and very episodic near the end. And I feel like mine is kind of doing that too, despite it being 4 books and they're in order on purpose. But it does have that vibe, I feel like.
Well, in my series, it's not like things were happy and rainbows before. It's kind of more of the sister trope to Cerebus syndrome, from bad to worse. Something that really influenced me making things darker for part 1 and things pretty dark in part 2 is a series called Berserk 97. This anime adaptation of this manga called Berserk that covers an art called the Golden Age. And let's just say things start out pretty bad because it's a medieval world portrayed almost realistically. There's a bunch of death and desolation and power struggles and destruction, but somehow everything gets so much worse. And I feel like that's a great series. It's like, I want to make better series for adults. As it's like, it seems like around these like animation spaces, everyone goes like, "Oh, adult animation is full of oof, yikes, sex joke or whatever." And it's like, I see people be like, "We need more series like that. Like, we need more series like the Owl House." And it's like, we need things to be more serious and episodic. And I'm like, I want to make a series aimed at adults with adult characters with challenging adult things, but the art style, there's a sense of maturity to its storytelling and also the art style.
Yeah, I'm excited for all of that. I'm ready for it. I do feel like a lot of adult animated stuff is like geared towards like teehee, Family Guy, Simpsons, just because that's what's been popular, and we really need to break away from all that mess. Big mouth shit. And I'm excited for these indie studios that are getting some animation out there that's like for adults, and not every other word is a cuss word, and butt jokes. I'm excited. I'm glad you're contributing to that. Very exciting.
I also feel like the environment's kind of shifting in my favor, because I know some of these series, they're kind of like, they are kind of criticized for being that way. However, there are like, there's these new independent series that are aimed at adults, and even though they're not my cup of tea, they are proof that an animated series can have art direction that's not Diet Family Guy mixed with a gaming webcomic from 2007, and they are not only beloved but also somewhat financially successful. And I feel that I'm now entering in this kind of environment where my series has the best shot of getting recognized.
Definitely. I feel like people are finally getting tired of all the corporate shit from Disney and all these big monopoly companies taking over. People with actual ideas, actual creativity, actual inspiration are getting their best chances that they've had in a while to start something unique and get their voices out there. And I'm excited for you. I'm excited for everyone who gets their foot in this pond, I guess. That's not a metaphor. That is something people say.
Thanks. And I also feel like we're entering an era where, like, in my series, it's kind of littered with giant chubby monster women. And I feel that nowadays people are kind of more receptive and positive to that rather than seeing it as a negative.
I love when I see body positivity on Twitter, and this is kind of it's vaguely related. I see a lot of stuff that's like, we should sexualize men to the degree we sexualize women. It's more of a gender thing than, it's just like, I see a lot of male titties on my timeline. Anyway, I love it. I love appreciating everyone's body because everyone's body is pretty to me. And yeah, do you want to go into any more character specific details?
I do. Two characters. You know when we talked about this character kind of like realizing he's kind of in a bad situation?
Mm-hmm.
He's called RM3. He is a 20-year-old super soldier who works with this other super soldier called RM2. RM2 is a defector from basically the same faction as Joseph in the gang. And their modus operandi is that they are basically two super soldier mercenaries who basically they want to go off the grid basically. They want to take up illegal mercenary jobs, make as much money as possible. They don't care who gets hurt, they don't care what gets destroyed. They want to amass this large sum of money to forge new identities and then flee to Northern Europe and basically pick their feet up and point and laugh as the world around them burns.
Exciting. We love the career goals.
It's kind of more of my declaration against apathy in the world. These are
Yeah.
they're like two villains. They're basically fuck you got mind libertarians, and they don't really care. Like they basically think this Edgar Allan Poe story called "The Mask of the Red Death," where a bunch of noble people barricade themselves in their castellated abbey while the rest of the world dies from some horrific disease.
Hmm. What's that called again?
The Mask of the Red Death.
I want to read that. Is it a poem? I love Edgar Allan Poe.
I believe it's a short story.
Ooh, exciting. I'm gonna write that down.
I'm also excited for RM3's development because he slowly realizes that this parent figure, like this person that he does care about, the person that helped keep him alive, is kind of toxic, and that if he wants to be happy, he has to break away.
Yeah. Did you say they were a robot?
Oh no, they're not robots. These are super soldiers.
Ah, okay. I think I was slightly confused because it was giving me R2D2 name vibes.
Yeah, it's short for Renaissance man.
Ah, oh, that's interesting. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes, basically, not to spoil anything, but they're called Renaissance Man 3, Renaissance Man 2, and Renaissance Man 3 because they have been trained and adapted for multiple combat roles. And it just seems that nowadays, you ever work a job where you said, oh, you'll be wearing many hats?
Yes.
That's kind of social commentary on that because I remember back in the day when I was trying to find work fresh out of school with my art degree. And it seems that every graphic design job, it says, oh, you have to be a coder, layout, typecast, walk my dog, cure three variants of the common cold just to get a job.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm not great with coding or anything.
Yeah, it's like I like those because it's more like social commentary about how it seems like people are kind of scared to just pay out for specialized labor instead of but their solution is to just have one person do everything.
Do you mind if I ask you some more questions? They'll be just like off the cuff.
Oh, please be my guest.
Okay. I'm curious if you have any specific tropes that you don't like that you are actively trying to not get rid of, but like we kind of talked about it a little bit. If there's any like tropes you are defying, and if you could go into detail about that.
Oh, if you kill him, you'll be just as bad as him. I do not like that trope at all. As you know, my characters are facing a bunch of Nazis, and I did plan to just kind of like vocally condemn that trope, but it's less of like, fighting Nazi makes you the Nazi. So I'm saying less of like, having the hero say, oh no, Joseph, don't you know fighting the Nazi makes you the Nazi? But more of maybe these characters should exercise some like restraint. And that's what he does in the first story. It's like he has no problem killing neo Nazis, but Veronica, one of the characters, talks of gleefully how she packs some extra assault rifles and she's a bit too hype to, get into this dangerous battlefield with a bunch of terrorists. And Joseph says something like, I have no problem killing neo-Nazis, but I'm not treating this like some sort of roller coaster ride.
Yeah, it's not a video game. It's good to have your characters feel remorse when they do bad things, even if it's for the greater good.
I'm also going to avoid mood whiplash as I move into the darker area of my work.
Not gonna be a lot of comic relief then.
Yes and no, because at first I was like, if I had everyone just sort of like realize the gravity of the situation and become very depressed, that's also a tone of tonal whiplash that's going to happen on the audience. I mean, it's going to be more thematically appropriate, but that's whiplash still. So what I'm going to do is that I've also realized not everyone reacts to a dire situation in the same way as everyone else.
Very true.
Like, Joseph is probably going to absolutely accept he's about to get like railroaded into fighting a war. Others will kind of accept it in secret while not acknowledging it. Others will probably be in full-blown denial. And others will just like refuse to let the darkness take them and still find moments of levity in their life.
Pessimistic humor. None of that Joss Whedon re-editing the Justice League movie shit.
Oh no, like, I despise pathos.
Yeah.
It's like, we're not, it's like something I'm determined to do. It's like, it's kind of dark, but speaking of Marvel, on Twitter, there was a person complaining how there are no jokes in Dune. And I'm only saying this because it kind of relates to my work as neo-Nazis. But a reaction was like, Marvel fans, when they're watching a film about the Holocaust and there's no wacky quip or jokes that the characters make.
Yeah, I feel like people are conditioned to feel like they have to have some levity in their movies now because getting too dark is like too dark, too depressing is more realistic and generally like less appreciated in film nowadays. Not in like, prestigious films. I mean like mainstream media.
Oh no, you are right in that, and I made like an internal note myself. Like, we are not going to have a fine Nazis may see the Nazi moment. Veronica and Nathan are not going to crack jokes in front of some sort of work camp full of half-starved Slavic and marginalized people.
I think comedy is only as powerful as the setting it's in, and you can do comedy beats in a dramatic story, but they have to like make sense, and they can't take away from what is happening around them. They have to fit,
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to try to find ways of levity, but they're based on character interactions, and sometimes characters don't react normally the way they're supposed to in situations.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm going to rely on instead of having, like go towards the camera and say, wow, it's like, I guess we blew that guy's mind, after one of the characters, like, I don't know, like, shoots a guy with an anti-material rifle, he goes, like, spinning off into orbit.
That sounds like a silly pun. When you said, I guess we blew that guy's mind, I was imagining, like, the guy's head exploded, and it's, like, blowing his mind.
Sometimes I, like, enact scenarios I never want to put in my work.
Yeah, for sure. I particularly am super interested in characters and character creation, so I will ask you, do you have any, like, character foil characters? Like, this character is like the contrast, the opposite of another character, and it makes their interactions very interesting.
The Valiant Warriors Squadron is divided into two organizations, basically. One is the VWS-1, where Joseph is. The other is called Westsock, which is basically like a senior officer corps. Within Westsock, there are two giant chubby monster women named Acropolis and Hecate. And Acropolis is basically a loud 35-year-old Greek aunt She's very boastful. She likes to spend her money on art or sometimes frivolous stuff,
Me.
and she is kind of like a little bit of a goof. She's braggadocious, and sometimes it gets her into trouble. I drew her trying to carry three large of glowing vats of stuff, except she's struggling and about to fall over because it's too heavy for her. She's carrying two in both arms and one in her mouth. And the other character, her foil, is her partner named Hecate. She's a 40-year-old giant chubby monster lady who's basically the pilot of the group. She pilots like this mech, and she is straight-laced. I don't think I've drawn her smiling before. She is very by the books. She'd rather be holed up in her office doing paperwork, but she's, trained in this to pilot this mech suit. And a thing that annoys her is that Acropolis is in a one-sided rivalry with her, and Acropolis feels like she has to outdo her, kind of put her down. Hecate doesn't care.
I love those one-sided rivalries. They're very funny to me. I love when someone like thinks they're mortal enemies and the other guy's like, it's very SpongeBob and Squidward.
Oh, I know that. I know what you're talking about. There's this, I know it's that Thanos meme of that woman pointing at him, and she said, "You cook everything for me," and Thanos says, "I don't even know who you are."
Oh yeah, for sure. It's good to have those rivalries. It's good to have these opposing kind of characteristics, and it's very interesting to put them together because, like, despite everything, despite their personalities completely clashing, they can work great together. They can. That's kind of why a lot of couples are like opposites attract. It's not always the case. I personally like someone that, you know, likes to talk as much as I do and gets tired at the same time. But I think opposites make storytelling really interesting. It makes some interesting interactions rather than just talking to what is basically yourself.
Yeah, they're not foils, they're kind of political foils. My muscular bat lady Veronica, I talked at the beginning, she's basically a center-right constitutional monarchist, and her best friend is a woman named Maxilla, and Maxilla's a Marxist. And they were actually assigned to kill each other at one point in time, but they quickly became friends as, treaties and politics got in the way, and they're more than happy to be pals.
So, I know that this project was originally a plan to be a comic. Can you tell me how it transitioned to what it is now, a writing and illustrated project?
Yes, after I got some feedback from a storyboard where basically they told me writing was my strength, and they were 100% right. I'm very grateful for pointing me in the right direction. I began to, start up the next part of my comedy. Said, okay, once this part is over, now I can get to the part that I really like. And then I realized, wow, this is taking a lot of time. And I actually started the story like too late in the story. I figured that it was kind of taking too long, and the story was a bit wonky, and I was just shoving in stuff I thought was cool without any sort of cohesion. And I kind of pulled up my white flag and said, okay, I need to revamp literally everything because this is a mess. And I even drew myself as a sad little character looking sad because that's a time old cliche of making webcomic. It's like, oh, you fucked up your first attempt, so you're going to do it again. And I drew myself as a sad character, and I drew another character towering over me like, oh, look at this webcomic scrub, the scrub that doesn't get no love from me, who has to reboot his comic again. So I just kind of embraced my strength as a writer because, drawing comics by yourself, anyone who like draws webcomics as like a living or even like continues to do a comic form, you are a braver person than I'll ever be because of the amount of time and effort they take. I was able to find a happy medium by sticking to my strength as a writer and cutting down the artwork immensely, and then cutting that already reduced amount of artwork in half. And now that I've done that, I felt like this was the best way to do it since I'm a solo. I'm kind of solo for now. I'm very more than happy to throw money at people to help me with production. But let's just say now that I was able to cut that down significantly, I have even finished up the seventh installment of my project in like March. And that's helped me out so much.
Amazing. It's a lot of progress.
Yep. So I'd like to say anyone who's listening or starting a project, it's okay to take steps to like reduce the amount of work you need to put on yourself. Maybe it doesn't have to be a like a Simpson like the Simpsons and going on forever. And maybe it doesn't need to be like this big comic. Sometimes it could just be, like a novel or some short stories with some drawings in it. And to kind of conclude what I'm trying to say here is that to focus on your strengths and do what you need to lessen the amount of work on yourself. And it's okay to take those steps to get the work done.
Definitely. I feel like me, myself, wait, that's not how to speak. I feel like I, myself, am very much a jack of all trades. I've been called this. But also, like, not great at all of them. I forget what the actual saying is, actually. But, I try to do so many things. Like, you reminded me when you were talking that I actually have a webcomic. It's like a pirate X vampire romance type thing. And I always forget about it. I never update it. I want to, but, like, I have so many things doing. I literally, like, went to the art store this morning and like bought a bunch of stuff for new projects to do because I'm just a crazy person. And but really, definitely just keep to your strengths, do what you want, and people will appreciate what you give them. And yeah, I've personally been kind of slumped. I've been like feeling underappreciated and like, oh, I work so hard at all these things and nothing picks up and I never.
I know that.
Yeah, you know how it feels? And I actually, this interview, just talking to you about it, is really encouraging me to just keep at it and keep trucking. And I'm enjoying it. It shouldn't matter that other people see it, even though, I feel like I work so hard and I want people to validate me, but also it's validating to just do it because you love it.
Oh, I do, and that is kind of like an impromptu thing you brought up, but also something I really like to talk about. Like, yes, ultimately the story and artwork you make should be made for your enjoyment, and at the same time, there is nothing wrong with wanting outside validation or wanting like more than 5 people to acknowledge your existence and your work. And to imply that, numbers don't matter at all, like ever, is kind of like the equivalent of like I'm watching a guy like punch drywall. It's like, yes, it's like it is 100% okay, to want validation and, get more numbers and more eyes on your work. That's an incredibly human thing to want, and it's an incredibly human thing to do, and that's just fine. However, I will say this. If you go in and, with the intent of a project only for only 100% to get attention for yourself, you will 100% drive yourself insane with despair.
Absolutely. Do it for yourself first and others second. Everything should be selfish in art, I feel like, personally. But also you bring up a good point that lots of people are like, numbers shouldn't matter, it should be about creation. They do, because those numbers are what allows creative people to do what they love as a job. I personally wish that I could work on this podcast every day and make more episodes and make money doing what I love, but I can't because it's we got a small community here and most of us are college students without very high paying jobs and lots of student loans. So they matter in that we want to have more time doing what we love. But ultimately, it's about doing what you love. And everything should be selfish in art, is my thoughts.
I can agree to that.
Art is for yourself and whoever else second. If you're doing commissions, you know what? It's still for yourself first, because you need that money to do what you love. And it would be silly to pretend that money is not a factor and that artists are millionaires. Like, to be thinking about money and to be thinking about numbers, like, it doesn't make you like a bad person. It makes you a person that realizes the state of the society that has been built around us, you know?
Yeah, it's like saying numbers don't matter, saying like money can't buy happiness.
It can buy
It's sort of like,
food, it can buy shelter, and I personally would prefer a roof over my head. I think that'd make me very happy, actually.
it's like there's some truth to that saying that being financially stable, I still get like sad or depressed or ignored or whatever, but I'm not gonna pretend, money doesn't buy happiness, it buys things you need to stay alive. And more than ever, people are having less and less of it.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna make a quick joke and say that money does buy happiness because it buys me my depression medication. But,
There you go.
there we go. I have bipolar disorder. Woo! Anyway, final question of the day is for both of us, even though I feel like I've kind of been answering all the questions myself anyway, because I just love having fun conversation. Do you have a particularly, like, favorite character in whatever piece of media you are working on? And why do you think they are your favorites?
Well, to kind of prop her back up again, it's Faye because she is this kind of you know she's a 7'3" monster woman who's built like a fridge, and that's body type's always fun to draw. But also she fights against being put down upon for her weight, and even though you're supposed to chuckle at her, you're also supposed to cheer for her as she holds her ground and succeeds against this world.
I love that. I love a character who is both comedic in their presentation, but also, very appreciative and encouraging to others. Like, they have comedic qualities, but they are not a comedy beat in themselves. And
Yeah, it's like, I did not want her to be turned into some sort of like punching bag.
Oh no,
Because
no,
it's
no.
like because like that's also kind of a peeve of mine. It's like having a character just exist to just kind of be like the punching bag for the story. And I understand the comedy in that. But it's more like um I mean I can just say put on my hands that oh I just don't like it and I can just not engage with it. Other times when it goes sour, it's like the story desperately twists itself into a pretzel to try to justify why this character is just being treated like garbage.
Mm. There's this really cool author named Jenna Moresi who has written several books and published them independently. She's very cool. I think she has a YouTube channel. And one of her books, The Savior's Champion, which I read, she talked about how, like, behind the scenes, she talked about how she made a comic relief character just to kill him off right away because she hates those people that are just quip machines and that's their only pure purpose. And she just, like, killed him in the very beginning because, as, like, almost for shock value, which I think is pretty funny.
What a queen. I love people who just reject the bathos pill.
Yeah, completely. it was like, oh boy, this is the character that's gonna be making the jokes and making crass humor, and it's like, oh, we don't like him. Oh, he died immediately. He's the first one to die. Well, that's nice for us, I guess. And then, comedy can be done through character interaction and other things that aren't just the comic relief guy.
Exactly. That's something I aim for in my own work.
I feel like my favorite character in the Tribe of the Beyond series always switches. It's always like either Jackie, Knight, or Krissa, or Star. Actually, it's like every character, except for Koi, honestly. Sorry, Koi. And then, like, my other story, Ricky. I like Ricky a lot. I draw him a lot. I feel like I relate to him the most, but also, he has flaws that I do not have, so he's not particularly my favorite out of all of the characters I've created. I think the characters I like the most are definitely the ones that have the most going on mentally, or are the most complex. I like Jackie because she has a very naive outer layer, but she's also very optimistic and very smart in a way that's hard for other people to understand. She's also autistic, like me. And I like Knight because she's got a lot going on. She's very badass and OP, and I joke that that's why I killed her off. It's not spoilers because she's dead at the beginning of the series, and she's a ghost. But and I like Krissa because she's like a bad person on the outside. She kind of hides her real thoughts, feelings, emotions, fears with sarcasm and just like pessimism and rude comments, because she's deflecting the fact that she's got a lot going on. In the last book, she realizes that she literally has not been living her own life. She's been living this whole time just for her brother, and ultimately chooses to die doing that because she realizes she's already wasted so much time. It's kind of sad. Spoilers for the last book, by the way. That was probably the biggest spoiler, and I hope no one listens to this episode before reading that. But, anyway. I think Krissa's probably on and off my favorite. It's hard to say she's my favorite because she's the one that kind of makes fatphobic jokes that I don't like and don't approve of. But I understand her. Everything is a barb because she needs to have this facade. She's very distrustful of outsiders, and she doesn't want people to see that she's actually deeply afraid, deeply anxious, constantly scared of everything. She's very scared.
It's like you make this really unpleasant but multifaceted character that you love to death, but being honest with yourself, if they were existed in real life, you'd probably block them on Twitter.
Oh, absolutely blocked. Blocked, maybe even reported for rude language or something. But, like, I would never be her friend, but I understand her. And she's so interesting to me. I, like, you know how people love, like, anti-heroes? She's kind of that to me. I like that she, I like how layered she is, how closed off she is. Literally, there's one person in the world that she trusts, and she doesn't even trust him to be competent. She just trusts that he's like innocent, and that's her brother. And she works her entire life to just make sure he's happy, make sure he's safe, and everyone else, even the people that she confides in, are enemies almost to her. And she can't show that she is scared. And when people start poking the bear, she lashes out and calls people fat, just for no reason. I think that's the end of the episode. Not to just end on a weird line like that. Maybe I should say something else about Krissa to make people I don't know.
Uh,
Maybe I'll. I don't
no,
know.
it's like no, I kind of get it too because like a big part of developing characters is making characters who not only would you disagree with, but you would probably wind up either fighting or blocking on Twitter.
I was gonna say you have to make characters flawed at the beginning for them to develop at all in a story. So.
And for me, it's like I do have like several very much heroic characters who I would absolutely get into a fight with on Twitter over certain topics.
Oh yeah, you're allowed to disagree with characters. Something that is so strange to me is that there's a lot of people without very good media literacy, and they just assume that a character's point of view is the same as the author's. Like one time I wrote this story, this like poem story. You could find it on my website. I'm not gonna say what it's called. It's very NSFW, but it's about a character who is not myself, but it's written in first person perspective. And even though there's like very obvious things about the character that make them not me, um, people still yell at me about the story and the fact that I made the ending kind of problematic in a way that was supposed to explore character and bring up a dilemma about a fear I have, which is loving something so much that it hurts and then having them not return your love. Or dying, either one. But, oh god, I don't want to end it on that sad note either.
Um, I can agree to that because, like, I have a couple of. I wonder if I'm gonna. I do anticipate, with my faction of like, the center right constitutional monarchists. They're called the Holy Charlemagne Assembly. Their flag, it consists of having the German Empire flag slapped in there, and I know people are going to get upset, and they have a right to because it's like, you know, my quarter German heritage was like kind of very important to me because it's the only thing I knew about my family at the time. We didn't know where the hell we came from, but something indisputable is that me and my sisters were quarter German from my grandmother's side, and I'm. It's that's why I'm kind. It's like the German Empire. It was an empire. It did really shitty things. I know more about like the problems of like the Third Reich did because they're enemies in my project. But the German Empire probably did a lot of fucked up things. So in my story, they're going to attempt to Veronica and Fritz are going to attempt to change the flag because I realize that's going to make people upset. Just have that German Empire flag in there. And as I change it, I'm realizing, these are like the HCA is run by old conservative white people, and they're going to be pissed off that Fritz and Veronica want to change the flag to something different.
You can't please everyone, especially when you are trying to say something that is commentary about society.
Yep, and that's not only like that. Not only not applies to you and me in our work, but also in the project we had regarding this interview.
I feel like literally everything is some sort of comedy about society. Everything is taking at least something from the real world. Like, even if you make it so far out there, you're still going to have to humanize a character. You're still going to have to give them thoughts. You're still going to have to make that rock in the woods relatable. Like, no matter how far you go from our reality, it takes from us because people are storytellers and stories reflect our brains and our brains reflect what we perceive and deal with in our lives. And there's nothing that I feel like even if there is a way to tell a story that has nothing to do with anything, no one's going to read that. People want things that they can understand and, enjoy and relate to.
Even though a story can be fantastical, something that will enrich it are conflicts of interests that people can tie to themselves.
Yeah. It doesn't even, real quick, I'm gonna just pop in and say, you don't have to be one-to-one with a character to relate with them. For some reason, Hollywood seems to think, like, I know this is an example in, like, the Planet of the Apes sequels, but, like, there has to be a male lead with a child and wife. And if they don't have a child and wife, then they are unrelatable. And if they are not a male dad, then they are unrelatable. Like, because that's the target audience, I guess, is just, like, old white guys. But, like, it's just strange that Hollywood and so much media, not to critique all media, I'm not, like, I absorb lots of things that go this route, but the idea that your characters have to be one-to-one with the audience is not necessarily true, and I feel like people have the power of empathy and can relate to things that aren't one-to-one with themselves.
I also feel like Hollywood has to play it safer even more than ever, not just with the remakes, but also trying to pander to, like, the largest demographic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, basically, they're trying to desperately play it safe, not to make cash, but basically probably to lose the least amount of money as possible.
It's to make money. That's why they don't put gay things that are longer than, like, a minute in their stories. That's why all the gay stuff is cut out for China and Russia, because China and Russia won't let gay stuff in their properties that they show.
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely a thing that happens, and I can agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Every moment of gay activity can be cut out for China and Russia, and the story still makes sense. No homo. That's not a great way to end. I guess I'll end it. Wait, we can plug your stuff, and I'm gonna just really quick. Speaking of no homo, there's a song called "The Bro Duet," and I really like it. It's really funny. Some of the lyrics are no homo, and then, like, talking about kissing your bro. It's very kissing the homies goodnight of them to do. Anyway, listen to that song, and then let's plug your stuff.
Absolutely. My work can be found on the Valiant Warriors Squadron, like in WordPress.
I'll also be putting the links and such that you send me into the description of the video, so you can scroll down, check those out, as well as, like, the podcast Patreon and such.
My project can be found at valiantwarriorsquadron.wordpress.com and on Tumblr at valiantwarriorsquadroncomic.tumblr.com. My art blog is towerofdoubt.tumblr.com. I'm also on Twitter as towerofdoubtart.
Thank you so much for coming. I want to really quick plug my own stuff. I'm going to plug the Patreon again. Gosh, I don't know the Patreon stuff. Give me a second, I'll cut this stuff out. Patreon, baby. My loud ass keyboard, baby. Okay. It's patreon.com/workinprogresspod. That's WORKINPROGRESSPOD. And it will, of course, be in the description. We love to hear it. You can subscribe to some tiers for access to bonus content from me and Cyrus and other friends that will stream once a month. There is also access to our Discord server where we give feedback on pieces if and just a little community that gives feedback on pieces if you want. We talk
I'm part of
about
this
writing.
community.
Yeah, it's a great community. I'm hoping to broaden it. And also, if you join the $8 tier, you can get 1 hour, you can book 1 hour writing consultations with me or other people. Usually me, though.
Come into the Discord. Get in here.
Yeah, get in here. It's a party. Okay. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the future. Bye.
Thanks for having me again. Bye.